After a two-year slump, Oahu housing prices appear ready for a rebound. The Honolulu Board of Realtors is reporting the median price for a single-family home on Oahu dipped slightly last month after rising for 4 months straight. Now, during the month of September, the average price dipped from $640,000 to about $622,000, but it's still up compared to the same time last year. As for condos, the median price increased by $30,000. Home sales were up by more than 8%, while condo sales dropped almost 16%. Now it's time for this morning's Real Estate Insider. And joining us this morning to break down those numbers from the report from Wednesday is Scott Higashi. He's the Vice President of Prudential Locations. Good morning, Scott, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So actually there's some positive news in this report, and that's really good news for you guys, right?
There's lots of positive news, and I think when you look at the broader numbers in the report, what it suggests is the housing market is really in a state of stability and probably in a state of recovery. I know there's a lot of folks thinking that, housing across the country is one of the last sectors to recover within the economy, but in Hawaii, what you're seeing is a great deal of resilience in the market, and that's been lasting for the last several months. So I think the verdict really is that the problems that we had detected early on in the housing market, certainly a couple years ago, have really left.
And a few months ago when we were talking to you about, was it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market, you said it's about even, but what is it now?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, there's a ton of advantages for sellers, and that's because there's a bunch of pent-up demand out there in the marketplace. Low interest rates are really fueling a lot of buyer activity. And what you're seeing with the low days on market in both the single-family home and the condo area is what it suggests is when new product comes on the market, there's a lot of buyer interest, the multiple offers are coming in, and houses are going to escrow faster. So I don't know that we can declare it one way or the other, but it's certainly good for both.
It's interesting you say that because you look at the classifieds and there's not that much inventory out there. And if you drive around any neighborhood, I drove around Aina the other day, there wasn't a lot of for sale signs up there.
That's right. Inventory levels are actually at some of the lowest levels they have been in 2 or 3 years. And so what we're looking at, I think, again, is not just a stable market, but actually a market in recovery. One of the indicators that you notice is in the broad report that the Board of Realtors published, you notice condo sales were down. But that's because last year at this time, the government was giving folks $8,000 to buy a house. So a lot of those folks bought condos, and that fueled the condo market in terms of the number of sales. But the overall fundamentals are the prices remain very, very stable. And what you'd see in a market that's actually moving downward is prices continue to move downward, but that's not what we're seeing at all.
What are your personal predictions for the coming year and into the future?
Well, I think a lot of things have to remain stable. As long as interest rates remain low, I think that's going to continue to give great health in the Hawaii market. And, the market's going to be tied to employment and people's feeling of confidence in the market. And I think those things are coming back in. And certainly in the housing market, we're noticing that there's not a lot of bad news out there. So there are folks still entering the market. That's great. And if people stop doing that because interest rates went up or they really felt the economy wasn't on the recovery mode, then we'd have some problems, but we don't see that happening.
Right. It's all about perception, at least right now.
At least right now.
All right. Scott Higashi from Prudential Locations, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks.
With your new report. And we'll be posting this interview and all of the interviews that you see on our morning newscast at our website, kitv.com/thismorning.